Welcome to Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade. Today we're going to talk a lot about mental health and how it relates to the business community. Sueling Ching, she's the president and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade, joins me now. Hello, Sueling.
Hi, Sam.
Always great to chat with you.
And you?
I'm going to date myself a bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So back in the day...
Just don't bring me with you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, you look gorgeous. But back in the day, when I was 25, 30, 35 years old, in business, we never spoke about mental health, ever. Why the change? Why do we need to talk about it more?
From the perspective of being a business association, specifically over the last few years, as we all went through this collective trauma of the pandemic, the thing that we all should have taken out of that time is that the economy, business, community, and health and mental health are all related. They're all part of the same puzzle. And we cannot look at one without understanding how it impacts the other things. And so the last 4 years have been a living, breathing experiment for all of us to confirm that that is 100% true. And so during the pandemic, as we were struggling with our economy, with the physical health threat of COVID-19, the other thing that became very obvious is how mental health impacts our economy and how the economy impacts mental health. And I am not a professional in this field, but what I do know is that a lot more conversations are happening in the business community around the mental well-being of entrepreneurs, the mental well-being and businesses' capacity to support employees, and then how that impacts the economy and businesses, for people to be productive, for people to show up to work. I think, and we kind of made this connection even pre-pandemic because we work closely with the Royal Ottawa.
Right.
And I remember when George Weber was there, and he was very keen on understanding the connection between mental health and the economy and business. And so we actually had started those conversations then, talking about things as simple as absenteeism and then the phrase presenteeism, when you show up but you just really don't do anything, you know. And I think collectively we need to understand that creating supportive environments for work impacts the bottom line, impacts the people who are working for us, their ability to stay with a company, to do the work that they need to do. So it's a complex conversation. So to try and simplify my answer is, it's coming up every day now in the business community because we are having to deal with it post-pandemic even more, or maybe we're even more aware than we were.
And we have a number of guests today. They're going to talk about their perspective as well in terms of mental health. I think it's something, once again, that's really come to light during the pandemic, and there were some heartbreaking stories during the pandemic of entrepreneurs, which can be very lonely, and that's why the Ottawa Board of Trade, I think, is such a great solution, because you've got this advocacy work from the Ottawa Board of Trade, but you have these great networking events, and you can sort of be connected with others that are maybe facing the same thing. But I think the pandemic was really that launch-off point where a lot of people sort of put up their hand and said, I actually really need some help.
I think it gave people the opportunity to say that, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of making sure there are no stigmas around that, to set up workplaces that are conducive to making people feel comfortable. So I think a lot of businesses are looking at that work, and then from an advocacy perspective, one of the things that we need to be thinking about is how it impacts economic development overall. And so, as you know, we're very focused right now on the downtown transformation. And one of the key pillars that we've been looking at from the beginning is this idea of safety and inclusivity and and mental health and addictions and how that's impacting the downtown core and the whole community. But in this context, making sure that we are very thoughtful about the environments that we set up to care for everyone. And what we heard at the City Building Summit recently is that there's a lot of pressure on our communities as a whole, and that there is a threat of a decline in empathy for people. So that's something that I would encourage community and business leaders to be thoughtful about as well, because there's a tiredness, you know,
Right.
and so we have to make sure that we maintain high levels of compassion, and young people are looking for businesses and employers, I think, who are community minded and who have developed strategies specifically to make sure that their workplaces are safe and that the employees are well cared for and that they're contributing to community.
I'm so glad you said that, because that wasn't on my radar.
No.
Certainly, when I was looking for those first career jobs,
No.
it was, can I show up and where am I going to sit and where's the washroom and like those.
Yeah.
But I think people are being very intentional about where they work.
Yeah.
And to your point about kind of that ecosystem that we're creating, if we have healthy staff, we've got a healthy community.
Well, and then we have productivity and innovation and creativity. I mean, all of those things go hand in hand.
It's obviously been a very, very busy time. We talked about the City Building Summit, which was a big success. And I walked away, as you know, I'm still buzzing about it. I walked away very, very positive, but it was very clear there's some challenges, right? It's all not roses and rainbows. There are things to work on.
There are things to work on. There are things within our control, and then there are things that are more outside of our control, and like the pandemic was, for example. And there are, international influences that impact our city here as well. So we like to focus on the things that we can change, and that's why at the Board of Trade we do like to create a sense of community for every entrepreneurs who are running small medium enterprises, but also for large businesses who are looking as well, for some opportunity to influence the environment in which we are all working. And so we're focused on what those policies and priorities are at every level of government that creates a competitive business environment, because what we believe is that when businesses are successful, when we have an economic growth agenda, then we have the resources that we need to make sure that we have, driving city building and quality of life and inclusivity and meeting goals on big challenges like, the environment and productivity. And so we'll just look for opportunities to align those priorities and build some synergy. And so, as you know, we have the Ottawa Business Growth Survey coming up, which is sponsored by Walsh here and done in partnership with the Ottawa Business Journal. And, that's just one example of how, we came together as a community to provide this input, and then we'll develop some insights about how we can move together forward on common ground issues and optimize our resources so we can move together more quickly.
Yeah, and move together at all sorts of events that are coming up. I know you were just out, in the West End, which is great, having a great networking event out there. You're heading east to Orleans, and then of course we've got a great event coming up in terms of women leaders, and the list is phenomenal. I saw the list of all the great people that are going to be there. So tell us who's on the docket.
Yeah, so we really at this we do this once or twice a year, this Women Wit and Wisdom event, and we try and highlight Ottawa women leaders, and we always have a bit of a theme. So this one is unleashing your personal power, and we would just really wanted to talk about, women have been disproportionately impacted over these last 4 years as entrepreneurs, as mothers, as executives. No one was untouched.
Right. True.
And so we wanted to talk about how do we make sure that as businesses and as a society and as women leaders, how do we not do more or, dig deeper, or but how do we just like really harness our own personal power to make sure that we are creating fantastic lives and supporting our businesses and communities to the best of our ability. So it'll be a fun night.
It'll be such a fun night. I'm going to be there. I can't wait. And I love that we're going all over this big, beautiful city, right? This isn't just about having events downtown. You're all over the place. And I met someone the other day, and they're like, "I'm gonna go to Orleans. Are you heading to Orleans?"
Oh yeah.
And I just love that, because I think there's this sense that you're just about the downtown core, and that's absolutely not true.
No. One of the beauties of our city is these fabulous neighborhoods with their own personalities. But, we have so much to offer across Ottawa. And so we really encourage people to get to know their own city. And when we talked about, when we're having difficult times, we're transforming our economy here. That's one of the ways to support. Every resident in Ottawa could become a tourist in their own town, like we talked about last week. Look at different parts of the city, support restaurants and retail across different parts of the city. So the downtown is particularly challenged right now, which is why we're focused on it. But the whole city is connected to each other.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about membership, what I love is there's different ways that people can become members, different levels of membership, each providing something a little bit different. I'm proud to say I'm a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade, and I got an email the other day talking about benefits of if I was looking for staff people, and there's a job posting. I mean, I think these are some of the benefits that we need to scream from the rooftops.
The number one reason we ask every business in Ottawa to become a member is to make sure that we do have a strong voice of business in Ottawa, and that we have a collective voice to speak, to every level of government, because policy really does matter. But practically speaking, we have a ton of opportunities for people to connect with each other, to promote their business, to get access to information and resources. So there's a very direct benefit, and then there's the overall benefit that for businesses to enjoy.
And as we're heading into this beautiful time in our city, the Tulip Festival, this is a time where businesses really do spring alive, if you will. And have this opportunity to have people come from all over the world, and this city's being showcased. It's such a wonderful time for business.
It's a wonderful time for business. We're lucky, we're the nation's capital. People from all over the world are interested in coming here. We have a wonderful tourism office and ecosystem, and businesses like some of the ones we've highlighted in the hospitality and tourism industry. And so it really does create an energy and some synergy for the business community. So I hope we optimize it this summer for
Absolutely.
all of us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I know you'll be tiptoeing through those tulips as well this upcoming time here in this beautiful city. I'm Sam LaPrade. This is Ottawa Business Matters. When we come back, my friend Lee Rose. Stay with us. Well, I can't even fib. I've waited for this interview for a long time. It's my good friend Lee Rose. He's the manager of community engagement from TD. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Sam, how are you?
Fantastic. It's so great to have you here.
So glad to be here.
So first of all, I love you walked into the studio today, and you said, before we got on air, and you said, Sam, I just gave away some fantastic money to some great organizations. You have the best job in the city.
It is definitely maybe not the best job in the city, definitely the best job in the bank.
Yeah.
I can say that for sure. Yeah, I get to manage our community investments, our philanthropy, and our marketing across Ontario. Yeah. And it's a great place to be.
It's a great place to be. You have, and we were talking a little bit earlier with Sueling Ching about mental health.
Absolutely.
And when I think about you, to be honest with you, for years you've been a champion.
Yeah.
So I remember last April, opening up LinkedIn, and you think, I'm going to see all these updates from people in terms of their work. But there was a very personal message from you. I will never forget where I was. The tears streamed from my face because I was so heartbroken for you. Tell us what happened last year.
Well, Sam, my partner, Charles-Éric, and I were, for the last few years, navigating what I now describe as a beautifully complex mental health journey. And unfortunately, last April, Charles took his own life in the sanctuary of his studio. And yeah, so I've been navigating the loss of my person. And me, my children, our family and friends have lost someone who's incredibly important to us. And navigating grief and loss is challenging. It's deeply personal and private, but I also felt compelled to share a little bit more about what was going on, and didn't think I was going to be sharing as much as I have been sharing, but the responses to some of the experiences that I've gone through and to help reduce the stigma and shame that come around, it took me almost 3 months to utter the word suicide. And how do we navigate that? So yeah, I think there was a sense of me being open about it, and to share that this happens, and that we have to all be there for each other.
But I think you've done this in such a way where you've invited people into his story, because you mentioned the studio, an incredible artist.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing his art with us, because there's a wonderful way that you've done this, and I want to get into all of that. But the fact that you have this role at TD,
Yeah.
and then this own personal story happened to you, the way you have navigated that, and I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think your job maybe even became more important?
It's, yes, and some of my leaders, after it happened, I had a chance to go to a recognition event, and one of my leaders asked me if work was providing me a good distraction in this time, and I said to him, no, it's focus, because the work that I get to do is so meaningful and impactful in the community, and that brings me joy every day, and especially since Charles is passing, it's been really important. And for like 10 days after Charles died, I remembered I got to share the news of TD's $1 million gift to the Royal for the Prompt Care Clinic. And this is a gift and a project that we had been stewarding for several months. And as I was going through that work, I could see, I was living what was going to happen in those spaces. And to know that the work of the Prompt Care Clinic and the rapid support that they can provide to people in community outside of a hospital setting, over the next 5 years, that's going to help 7,000 people. And so while they're not related in terms of my experience and the work of the Royal and TD's support of the Royal, it just really made it so real for me, because I was living this myself with my partner, and to know that that TD would be able to support this important work for mental health for an organization that's doing such incredible work here in the community. So that was a pretty powerful call with Chris Ide, the CEO of the foundation. After we hung up, I probably hung up the phone and started crying. And tears of relief and sort of grief, and also that kind of my resolve. I'm we need to do more to talk about it. And I think in that moment it was a galvanizing moment for me. I need to keep championing this work personally and professionally. So.
And I think people think about a bank, they think big corporate tower and all of the branches, and but what I think you've done a really nice job at is bringing that person. We see a person behind the
Absolutely.
bank, if you will, right? Behind TD Bank and behind the work that you've done. And you've done a wonderful job with the Ottawa Art Gallery.
We have, yeah. TD and me, I think.
Yes.
And so, again, Charles was a gifted artist, and my daughter loved to create with Charles. And one of the programs that the Ottawa Art Gallery offers is Creative Space. So a program that supports, in partnership with the Royal, folks who are navigating mental health challenges have a chance to use art as a therapeutic tool. I shared some artwork of Charles's when I shared my story at the Royal's Mental Health Leaders Breakfast last year, and the response was so visceral, because my words were there, but his pictures, especially his self-portraits and other images, just sort of really helped paint a picture of what the challenges of someone navigating mental health looked like. And so I just thought I need to share these with more people. And last Friday we had a preview of some of his artwork, which we've had reproduced, which we're selling for a memorial fund, which will help invest in the community as well for mental health programs. And we had a beautiful event at the Ottawa Art Gallery, and my daughter spoke beautifully and quite eloquently about the love she had for Charlot, and also for art as a therapeutic tool. So yeah, I've been really well surrounded in my community and with my family and
I mean, the intersections, I could go on forever. I mean, I think it's really incredible to see how this is all, the legacy that he's left, to be honest, is incredible. And it's hard to hear that he's gone. And I think about you all the time. As you know, I reach out to you. I just feel like there's not many people that would be as brave.
Yeah, thank you. And to go back to some of the things at work that really, I feel really supported and at the sort of the culture at TD as well, and the wraparound mental health supports that we get. So I've learned now, and I've come to accept and realize that if I was still working in a different job with different benefits, I probably would have made different care choices, and Charles and I probably wouldn't have had access to the systems of care that we had. Wow. And now with the benefit of reflection and processing this loss, I realized that those benefits and the support that I had probably gave me more time with him. And even though his life was cut drastically short, the challenges of navigating mental health, I know that they would have been more challenging for him if I didn't have the support that I had through my work and my colleagues and the benefits that we have. And I'm also grateful to Charles, because he's the one who kicked me in the butt to say yes to this job. And I wasn't sure about, I'd working in the charitable sector before, and like you said, going to work for a big bank, like, what is this? Is this like, does it align with my values? And Sheila told me, he's like, Lee, this is going to be a great fit for you. You should totally say yes. And so,
he was right. Yeah, he was right.
I hope so. And so
good.
I think about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the Ottawa Board of Trade and how they've supported businesses from a mental health perspective. We heard a little bit earlier from Sueling Ching, President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. But I think even having this conversation in an open forum, this wouldn't have happened a decade ago even.
It's so true. Like, even me, I talk about my therapist and the fact that my therapy appointments are on Fridays at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's in my calendar. And I tell my team, I said, I'm not available. I'm chatting with my therapist. And so me just talking about my own therapeutic journey and like, sometimes there used to be this shame around like, oh, you have to talk to a therapist. And, but that's a relationship that I hold really dear and is so beneficial. And I think that you don't need to wait for symptoms or a crisis to reach out. I think having access to a broad system of care, including therapy, going to the gym, great social network with friends, it's so important. And especially in the corporate sector, sometimes I feel it's a bit competitive, or it's like, oh, you've got to go top. And I think that I've been able to show up, and where I think I'm successful is in showing up authentically, not being afraid to be vulnerable.
100%.
Because I think that goes a lot further. It means a lot more to me personally, and I think to our community partners. They're talking to a real person who has experience.
And the intersection, I think, with business and philanthropy, you spoke about the $1 million gift to the Royal, which was, I know Chris was from the Royal was bouncing off the walls. He was so excited about that gift. But we think about that intersection, and we think about all the different capital campaigns that are going on right now. It's so important to know how much business supports those services and those institutions that we hold so dear.
Absolutely. We need to show up as good corporate citizens, So I have, again, like I said at the top, the best job in the bank, and get to sort of help steward some of those donations and those gifts on behalf of all of our colleagues who work across Ottawa and the region. And I know it's also important for our colleagues to know, so yes, in the community, but for some of our colleagues as well, to know that TD is supporting Capital Pride there, and that they're able to show up authentically at work, and that TD is actually not just talking about supporting Capital Pride and doing the things once in a while, but we're there for Pride. We're there for a lot of other community organizations as well. And I think, so I think about my colleagues in the bank as well who don't have the best job, because I currently have that job, but trying to engage them in that work as well. And that's a good part of the job as well.
Well, and I think we talk a lot about small and medium businesses giving back. I think about what you do at the branch level as well, like almost seeing them as like a small, business within that community, right?
In some neighborhoods or some smaller communities, I think of the branch manager and their team as kind of the CEO of TD. Right. And so how do you show up in your community and to give, provide them with the agency and the tools to be able to make decisions around some community investments right in the neighborhood? That is really impactful to know that our 2 branches in Westboro coming together to support the Parkdale Food Center last year, and they're coming through a period of transition and some urgency, and the branch managers called and said, we need to do something. These are our neighbors, and how do we show up? And being able to enable that kind of community leadership amongst my colleagues, it's an incredible thing to do. And it's the best call when we get to call someone today. Like, I stopped by York Street Public School to drop off some funds for their community kitchen, and the local branch manager was really excited to be a part of that. And I think it just helped deepen our connections to the communities where we are.
Yeah, beautifully said. Lee Rose, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sam, for having me on.
Appreciate it. Lee is the Manager of Community Engagement with TD, but he's just so much more. When we come back, we have a brand new CEO to introduce you to. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. Oh, it has been a very big week for our next guest. Brett Merriman joins me, CEO of TryCycle. Hello.
Hello, thank you.
Okay, so when I say CEO of TryCycle, like, is it sunk in yet?
Yeah, it's starting to.
Okay.
Yeah. I think kind of when we announced it, Sunday and Monday, that really started to feel real. But yeah, John and I have been talking about this for 6 or 7 months, so it was very much planned and transitioned, and yeah, it's exciting. Had a lot of great support from my family and the rest of kind of the TryCycle leadership team. So it's been fun.
That's great. John Macbeth, of course, was the CEO and transitioned over to you. So for those that aren't familiar with what you do, tell us what you do, because it's very complex, but walk us through it.
Yeah, so we like to say we're a digital mental health company, and we believe that that human connection is a really important part of someone's recovery process, whether it's mental health, whether it's diseases of despair like substance use disorder or depression or things like that. We kind of go against the flow where everyone's going, hey, it's AI or it's self-help. We believe, no, we got to pull back. It's got to be about people, and there's got to be that human connection in there. So our product, it goes and it basically allows people to anonymously connect to a peer, right? It's launched in Saskatchewan in the Indigenous community, and it's allows people to connect with peers from their community, and they can anonymously talk to them about whatever they want.
It's phenomenal. And we've connected through the Royal Canadian Legion as well. Talk to me about that project, because I could talk about that project for a day and a half. So lead us off.
Yeah, I could talk about that for a day and a half as well.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So we see a lot of similarities between the Indigenous community and the veteran community. They're both groups that have gone through some traumas, have come back to their communities, which are close-knit communities, and they suffer unfortunately some horrible rates of mental health issues, of substance use issues, things like that. So we've gone out and we've connected the Legion and Indigenous groups like the Aboriginal Veterans Ottawa, the Saskatchewan First Nations Veterans Authority, and we've come together and said, well, we're going to create something called the Burns Way. And what the Burns Way is it's a tool that goes and allows veterans to connect anonymously with other veterans. We realize there's a lot of different experience where a peacekeeper in Bosnia is different than someone who's frontline in Afghanistan, who's different than an RCMP veteran. And allowing them to be able to connect with somebody who's got life experience allows them to just get into having that discussion where they don't have to explain their traumas again, and then also don't have to go and be that strong person where if they're telling a friend or a family member about some of the traumas they've heard, they end up being actually the person that's giving the mental health advice because the person's blown away with, oh my gosh, I had no idea you went through that, right? So getting right in and connecting with a peer is majorly important.
Why is it called the Burns Way?
Yeah, so it's named after Mr. Burns Sr., who was a Princess Patricia veteran out of Saskatchewan. And after he did his tour, he came back and went back to his home community of James Smith. And as we know, in September of 2022, there was that horrible mass stabbing, and Mr. Burns stood in his doorway and protected his family against the attackers, and ended up chasing them down and chased them out of their community in their area. Ultimately, he perished in that, and we thought no better way to honor him as a veteran who paid the ultimate price, protecting his family, protecting his community, than naming this initiative after him.
What an incredible legacy.
It really is.
Yeah. What do people say when they first hear about digital mental health? Like, do people grasp it right away, or are we at that point yet, or is it still taking some time?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're certainly getting there, and I think kind of as I go through and I do an elevator pitch, depending on how many stories are going up here, people go and you kind of go and explain to them, being, there's not a single solution for everyone. Everyone heals at their own pace. Everyone heals differently. Everyone wants to interact differently. So we've got some amazing programs out there, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to just add that extra layer, where it's someone where they don't, like, these are peers. These aren't necessarily professionals, but these are peers where you can go and you can just connect with someone before it becomes potentially acute. We all know about Bell Let's Talk. We all know about these kind of programs, and that's just about kind of opening up, talking about it, breaking some of the stigma around to say, yeah, I'm not feeling like myself today.
Yeah. You and I spoke a number of months ago because I was so honored to profile an incredible gift, a gift of kind of $500,000 through United Way. And I said, I want to showcase this. I write for the Ottawa Business Journal, and I want to showcase this. You were like, I'm all in, Sam. So talk to me a little bit about a gift like that and the impact in this community.
Yeah, so that was one where we were thinking, almost a year ago, saying we're doing a lot out in Saskatchewan with the product being deployed out there. We're also doing a lot with communities in Connecticut, which is where our co-founder was from, and that's where our founder John and Ken met when they were doing a master's program. But we hadn't done a lot in Ottawa. We have kind of a sprinkle of a couple of people that have had our product deployed, and we thought, well, charity starts at home, and we've got a lot of, this is where we're from, this is where we're staying, this is where our head office is, and we got to make sure that we give back. So, we're lucky enough we have somebody incredible, Cam McLeod, on our team, who's from Carlington, and he's been at Dave Smith, and he's been at all these other great organizations, and you know what, we said, Carlington, United Way, these are two great spots where we can go and start to launch and give this back. And this is a tool that helps clinicians and the therapists with substance use and with mental health issues, and helps just get some efficiency and helps people stay connected. So we're hoping it's going to have a massive impact in community. We're talking with multiple organizations each week about deploying it, and we're like any software or any change in process. It takes time. So we're in the middle of rolling that out, and we're excited to see the impact over the next couple of years.
It's so wonderful to see you as a leader and really ingraining yourself in this new role, which is very fresh. But talk to me a little bit about leadership in this space.
Yeah. So I'm an accountant by background, by trade, right? And everyone thinks accountant, they're not necessarily the most outgoing people. Very much data analytical, and I think leadership, really, especially in this space, and meeting John and meeting the rest of the team has opened my eyes about how you can do good business and you can do good for people. And I think the key to leadership is being genuine and being a good human. I mean, I'm a father, community member, and a family member. So I think going through and just showing that to people, the person, Brett Merriman at work, same as Brett Merriman on the golf course, it's the same as Brett Merriman coaching a hockey team. You get what you get with me, and I think kind of having that genuine and just being a human, right? And saying when you're not having a good day, or you've got some stuff that maybe is keeping you distracted. I think people see that and can really be themselves and not necessarily hide, and can be open. And I think when people are open and comfortable, that's how you get the best out of people.
100%. And I was with John Macbeth and Cam McLeod recently, and they said, Sam, we're brand new members of the Ottawa Board of Trade. Yes. And I said, why? Why did you become members? And talk to me a little bit about that conversation that might have happened in the boardroom.
Yeah. So when that was brought up, I think it was a no-brainer, and we kind of were like, well, why didn't we think of this a bit earlier?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where just having that connection with the local Ottawa community. We are focused on two verticals right now, which is veterans and Indigenous. But our platform and our product, we can deploy that in many different ways. So having it where we're just talking with people, and when you talk to people about what TryCycle does, everybody has a story. You know, talking to Lee backstage, obviously his story is extremely powerful. And people have that. Everyone will come out and say, I've experienced something like that, whether it's mental health, substance use, whatever it is, they've got themselves or a family member or a community member that they know that has been touched by it. So we see a lot of different, from a business perspective, we see a lot of different verticals that this can go into. So connecting through the Board of Trade and saying, hey, somebody might be doing something that's in an adjacent space, we can be complementary to each other.
Yeah, and I know I saw a number of the TryCycle people at Premier Doug Ford when he came to town. They got up nice and early and went to hear the Premier speak. I mean, I think those networking events, the advocacy of the Board of Trade as well, I think it all kind of meshes together for any business in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just chatting with Sueling right now, and she's saying, hey, have you gone to this event, or this event's coming up and we need to connect on this and this angle here. It's you know, as simple as a 5-10 minute conversation, and it can open up all sorts of doors. So yeah, the Board of Trades, you know, we're only been a couple months on it, but it's paying dividends already.
So I have to ask you, we only have a minute left, but I have to ask you, how do you even start a new job as a CEO? And I know you were at the company, so you've got some inside look there. But what's the very first thing you did on Monday morning?
Yeah, so first thing Monday morning, I mean, that was a lot of actually, you know, a lot of external calls and things like that, setting stuff up with people that had just found out the news, and it was nice, you know, a lot of congratulatory things. But every Monday morning starts with a chat with the rest of the leadership team. You know, we're all open, and those are the folks that you know, any leader, and I'm certainly going to lean on them, let them be themselves, let them grow their departments, and let them kind of spread their wings as well, where as we scale, we're going to need them all to scale. So that was the number one thing, is embracing the team and saying, hey, let's do this together, because we're all in it together.
I can't wait to watch your journey, because I think TryCycle is going somewhere that's very exciting. You've certainly launched a number of incredible products. I picture our chat in 5 years, and then in 10 years, God willing that they let me to keep doing this. But I really do envision that we're going to look back on this day, and it's going to be, do you remember when I was just the brand new CEO? So congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam. Really appreciate it.
Brett Merriman joining us, the brand new CEO of TryCycle. When we come back, let's talk a little travel. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. Anyone that knows me well knows I love to travel. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Sheila Gallant-Halloran. She is from Lush Life Travel. Hello, my friend.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So excited to have you here. And I got to tell you, and I don't mean to keep talking about the pandemic, I swear, but the pandemic really, for me, stood out that I want to travel when it was all over. Is everyone else feeling that way?
Yes, a lot of my clients, you know, especially those that are have finished working, had planned the next 10 years, right, to be traveling. And they're like, we've lost 3 years, essentially, because in Canada, you know, we couldn't travel like some of our counterparts in the States. Right. And now it's making up for lost time. So that bucket list trip really becomes important to do.
That's fantastic. Where are people wanting to go these days?
Well, most of my clients are really interested in river cruising and expedition cruising. So it's something that's totally different than the big mega ships, which can be like a moving city. Some of them have like 6,500 people. But the pandemic has kind of taught us the importance of traveling with smaller groups when you can travel again. The importance of that social distancing, if you will, was kind of built in the smaller ships. So river cruising, the biggest river cruise ship has 190 people, and expedition cruising, you know, 100, 150 people. They're perfect for people who want an intimate experience and go somewhere different and not be lining up to get on and off the ship.
Okay, that's my kind of travel.
Yeah.
Now, a little birdie told me a little bit of some breaking news, if you will.
Yes.
That you may have just won an award Tell me what you won.
I was named a Virtuoso Cruise Icon. So I was, it's an esteemed award and designation. I was thrilled to be honored with this. Virtuoso is the world's largest luxury travel consortium. There's 20,000 advisors across 54 countries. And I'm thrilled to have been named one of 137 advisors worldwide, the top 1% of cruise sales producers. So I'm thrilled to be working with these fantastic cruise partners and get people to live their lush life through travel.
I love it. And you're a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade.
I am.
So I think about, okay, so you have this company, you're working really, really hard. Does the Ottawa Board of Trade solve an issue for you in terms of they're doing this advocacy work? They're planning all these events with other businesses. Is it kind of a solution for you to be a member?
It really does help me. I think the pandemic has taught us, you know, the world shut down, and especially in travel, we were hit first, we were hit hardest, and it was the longest to come back.
True.
So it really became about a conscious comeback, if you will. It's not just going back to what you were doing, it's how to go back better and make a difference. And for me, that's when I joined the Ottawa Board of Trade. It was really looking at giving back locally, getting to build my balance and my clientele locally, and also working with the community. I support local, I buy local, and when I travel, I bring those folks with me so that I'm supporting them. Or I was just in Salzburg. I gave a shout out to Shepherd's Fashions from the top of the Salzburg. Leslie Ann Barrett. I did a little blurb for her in Vienna. So I like to, you know, the Ottawa Board of Trade is about bringing the world to Ottawa, but I like to bring Ottawa to the world.
Oh, you just made my day. And Leslie Ann Barrett's one of my favorite people.
Oh,
so,
she's amazing.
Yeah, she's lovely. You know, I have to say that I think it's changed with the internet now. You know, I remember booking a trip because there was no internet, and I thought, well, how am I going to do this? And I went to a travel agent. And I think a lot of people think they could do it on their own. But the benefits of working with a travel agent, I know this now because I've done it the old way in terms of going on the internet and trying to book something myself. And then I've worked with a professional. It is night and day in terms of the way you travel. What are the benefits? Explain it to someone that thinks, oh, I can just go on and book that myself. What are the benefits?
Well, it's a little bit like saying you could probably learn how to take out your appendix online, but you probably shouldn't.
You don't want to do that. No. I love that.
It's you know, I do this is my living. I do this, I continually train. I go to conferences. I'm constantly keeping up with people. I travel on the product. I deal with clients. I learn the issues that they will face, and I learn how to solve them. And part of my background, I was an actuary in a former life, so I did, you know, helping people maximize their return on investment. Now it's about return on life.
Oh.
So I'm helping you travel, return on life. You want to bring back memories, but it's also about minimizing the risk. So you can certainly learn how to, you know, sun holidays, those kind of things, go to it. You know, if you want to do a $1,000 package to Cuba, I look at how can I provide value, and it's really about the river cruising, expedition cruising. You want to do a trip to Australia. I have feet on the ground experts that will help me design the trip that's perfect for you. So, you know, why build the expertise when you can borrow mine?
How did you know I wanted to go to Australia? We were supposed to go.
I think it's a beautiful blue.
Well, there you go. We were supposed to go in 2020, and of course, I don't know if you know what happened in 2020.
Yeah, I kind of heard.
And now we're sort of planning on 2025, and I think it's one of those things where it's a bit daunting. Where do I even start? So I think it's great, and being so local. I think, I mean, and maybe this has happened. I don't know. But have you gone to a networking event and you say, oh, I'm Sheila and this is what I do, and somebody goes, well, my wife and I or my husband and I want to do this, and they become your clients? Has that happened?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
definitely.
yeah.
And you know, you were talking about the Women Wit and Wisdom,
Yes.
and I go to that. I love
event.
that networking. I love working with women, especially because women make the decisions, generally speaking,
So
about
true.
travel. And, you know, when you travel, you're expanding your horizons. Somewhere like Australia, you know, it's the size of Canada if you lay a map of Australia. So if you say to someone who's visiting Canada, you know, come to Canada and see all of Canada in 2 weeks. Well, you're not going to do that unless you have a private jet and you have buckets of money.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with Australia. If you're going, you really have to maximize your time and see what you want to see. And you want to leverage the skill set and the feet on the ground experts I have there to make sure you see the things that you want to see and not be rushed and crazy busy, right? It's the same with a river cruise. If you want to go to Vietnam on a river cruise, or you want to do the Danube in Europe, you want to make sure that you have the product that's matched to you. So I'm kind of like a matchmaker in that extent.
It's funny, a couple of weeks ago in this chair that you're sitting in was Jennifer Stewart from Syntax Strategic. And she said something that I have thought about 100 times since. And she said, Sam, I want to live a big life. And I'm like, I want to live a big life too. And this feels like this is part of a big life, to be able to experience and have those experiences. And I think to your point earlier, everybody knows where they can go down south for a week, right? But I think what you give people is an experience that lasts a lifetime, not a week.
And, you know, part of the optimizing your vacation and minimizing the risk is that I work with preferred partners. And, you know, the Cruise Icon Award I was fortunate enough to just receive. It's because I work with these preferred partners. So you don't get back your leisure time, right? You can't risk that. So you want to make sure you're investing your time and money in a way that's going to give you the experience, live that big, lush life, and bring back memories. What memories do you want to bring back home? Because that's the key thing from vacation. You're not going to remember, well, maybe you will, how many rum drinks you had on a beach, but you might remember that. I was just in Vienna 2 weeks ago, and I went to the Vienna Opera House, and I saw this fantastic production of Verdi, and I was in Budapest, and I went to the most beautiful cafe in the world, the New York Cafe. Those are the kind of things that stay with you, not how many hamburgers or how many soft drinks or beer you had.
So true.
It's experiences.
My daughter's 16, and I remember being pregnant, and literally I remember the moment, this child will travel. And I just remember saying that. And that child's been all over this world, and I'm so proud of that, and I want to continue that as long as she wants to travel with me. I think those days are coming to an end. But you know, she's 16. So I do want to give her all of those opportunities, because once again, do we need another candle in the house, or does she need another stuffed animal? Absolutely not. But it's the gift of travel.
It's amazing. And those are the things, you know, that are really educational, that will stay with you, the memories that you make with your loved ones. And I have a lot of solo clients too that travel, like put them on experiences where they feel comfortable, but it's bringing family and loved ones together, because the memories you make in times like that, where you're walking away from your work and your responsibilities and you're just carving out time to be together, that's the stuff that will take you forward and feed you in the cold, dark days of winter, those memories and those pictures, you know.
And I mean, I have a bucket list of where I want to go: Portugal and Spain and Greece and Italy and Australia and New Zealand, all those places. But does anybody ever come to you and say, just surprise me, give me a few options?
Well, I do get people saying, I'm not sure where to go, but then I kind of do a consultation with new clients, and first I find out where they've gone and what they liked and they didn't like. I also find out how they like to eat. In Ottawa, where do you go to eat? What are your favorite restaurants? What kind of car do you drive? And it's not to know about budget so much as what are the experiences you typically have that you would be looking to replicate or improve on vacation, because you know, it's all about living a 5-star life on vacation, whether or not you live a 5-star life every day. It's carving out that luxury of time, and luxury can be whatever it is for you, right? It's luxury is really about what you don't have to worry about. And for a very busy mom, that might be 2 hours in the morning where I have a massage and an hour in a pool to read, or it might be going to a museum and seeing Gustav Klimt in the Belvedere in Vienna and learning all about his work. So it's all about focusing on what kind of vacation are you looking for? What do you like to do when you travel? What do you like to do Do you like spa in your regular life? Do you golf? Do you play pickleball? Are you looking for those experiences when you travel? Do you like nature? And then it's like finding out about what kind of experiences they've had, what they loved and what they didn't, and then coming up with a plan. Because it's not, with your great bucket list trip, you're not going to do all that at once. So which one should we do first? Like Stephen Covey, right? You put the big stones in the picture first, and then you put the smaller ones. Take care of the big pieces first, and then plan around that.
I remember somebody asking me one time what I took camping, and I said a Hilton. So
My kind of girl.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of how I like to travel. How can we reach you?
Sheila at lushlife.ca. I have a website, lushlife.ca, and it's all about, to me, I picked Lush Life because when you travel, you really want to live your lush life, and travel memories are the ones that should sustain you, so please reach out anytime.
Well, and you were the perfect guest today. Our theme really was about mental health, and when I thought about you coming in, I think travel has a lot to do with mental health as well, so you were the perfect guest today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. And you know, wellness travel is really something that has grown. And to me, I was lucky enough to win an award about wellness travel 2 years ago. It really is about well-being and self-care. And if you carve out time for yourself, sometimes you got to make a new habit, and sometimes vacation is the best way to start.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Sheila Halloran joining us today and talking all about travel through Lush Life. It's been a wonderful show today to highlight a lot of mental health issues as well, and challenges in our city, but also some of those solutions. I'm Sam LaPrade. Thank you for joining us on Ottawa Business Matters. Until next time.